Hello everyone and welcome to this live broadcast about the full moon that we are going to have on the 20th of October 2021. I don't know if you have already had the occasion to watch one of my live broadcasts, but the way I do work is in relation to the esoteric work, which is looking at what happened behind the scenes and in order to understand the energy that is moving there, in order to understand the kind of movement and why that movement is manifesting that energy on the surface of our life. Because the movement hidden behind the scenes is the true energy that we need to look at in order to shift that energy and have the opportunity to rise in consciousness and therefore manifest something in our life that is in alignment with who we truly are. This lunation, the full moon that we are going to have on the 20th, it's going to be a full moon in Aries. When we have a full moon, the full moon is opposite the sign. The sun is transiting at that point in time, so the moon is in Aries, but the sun is really transiting in Libra. And the full moon always talks about an harvest. It's something we need to, in relation to what we have done before, in relation to what we have planted. And then I'm going to talk again a little bit about Libra, because this lunation is going to really trigger one of the qualities of Libra and ask us to choose, to take a stance, to choose in a different way than before. Moons are always related to our individuality and the collective. But this one is really a very special one, because whatever we are going to choose from the individual point of view is going to have a deep effect on the collective and a deep effect on our lives and our collective lives. Libra is a sign that rules the 7th house in astrology. And generally the 7th house is known as, in traditional astrology, as the house of commitment, as the house of marriage, as the house of diplomacy, as the house of businesses, relationships and commitment in relation to relationships. But the true meaning of this house is a very deep confrontation in relation to who we are from the point of view of the personality and the point of view of the soul. So is definitely the house associated to inner marriage and to inner commitment. Every time we have a transit through this house, we are asked to review any kind of commitments that we may have in our life, which may be inner commitments or outer commitments, which means, for example, a marriage, a business, an association, because things are not in balance anymore, because Libra is actually a scale and they are no longer in balance, and we need to rebalance the energy that is there in order to go ahead. Therefore, this is also a sign, a star sign of deep meditation, but even more, it is a sign of contemplation, which means looking at the object, what we need to really look at, and turn this matter around and around within ourselves in order really to understand what we are really truly we truly want and which way to go. Think about diplomacy. Think about when we have to wait two aspects, How do we choose? And this is the main question we are asked to face at this point in time. Because Libra which is a green star sign from the color point of view, and green is panoramic awareness, is about making a decision, is really about the space to make a decision, is also the only inanimate sign that we have in the zodiac. Something that is inanimate means that it is something that doesn't have a heart. When we are in the position of weighing something, we don't have to choose in relation to our intellect, to our rational aspect, but we need to learn really and go deep within ourselves in order to find the way of the heart. Very interesting that this star sign is associated to the kidney meridian, and the kidney meridian is related to where to our life force, the vital, the deep life force, but is also associated to fear. When we have fear, our kidneys really hold that within. So our energy, our life force may be affected by that fear. The opposite sign, where we're going to have this lunation, which is Aries, which is a red sign. Aries rules the head, so it's actually describing the fact that when we make a choice, we are tempted to follow our head instead of our heart. So what are you choosing, your head or your heart? And because Libra is really the sign, generally speaking, of compromise, it depends what kind of compromises we do. If it's a compromise that it's an equal compromise and makes people happy, makes both sides happy, or if it's a compromise, generally when we have compromise with our heart, forced compromise, when we are obliged, to do something, and normally the intellect does that to our heart, to do something that is more logical, that is more rational, that is more, that the mind thinks is better, leaving behind the human aspect of that we hold within. I was talking yesterday to my students last night. I was teaching a numerology class, esoteric numerology class, and I was explaining them that the classical effect, the classical situation is, for example, when we love someone, and for example that person is not behaving the way we would like to do, the tendency that we have our mind is to start talking, chit-chatting within our head and saying, oh, you shouldn't do this, you should leave this person, he's not really respecting you, while our heart is still in love with that. The person you leave that person, but your heart still loves the other person. The point is that we start really a deep inner conflict. But we need to remember one important thing, that as the I Ching states, love is not something that comes from us. We can't get rid of the love that we feel, because love is something that is given to us from the universe. It's the universe that is making love flowing through us, and then the universe will keep that love there until it has done what it's meant to do, which means transforming our consciousness. So when we choose love, we choose our heart, we choose our soul. When we choose our head, we choose our inanimate, we choose our rational mind, which is completely detached from our being, because the logical aspect, the left brain, is not connected with the body at all, while the right brain, which is actually connected to the heart through the vagus nerve, and then through the vagus nerve is connected to all the organs of our body, has a panoramic view of any situation. And actually, bear in mind that the heart has an electromagnetic field which is 60 times bigger than the intellect. So, whatever we choose from the heart point of view will manifest 60 times bigger than what we choose from the intellect point of view. So this is what I have just said is also related to the fact that the total addition of the day of the lunation, this lunation is going to be, which is going to happen on the 20th of the 10th, 2021, is going to be 35. And 35, from the numerological point of view, is 3 is the intellect, 5 is the soul, and 8 is a total re-evaluation, but also 8 is the number associated to Saturn, which is the higher ruler of Libra, which has the purpose to make us weigh these two aspects within the self, the soul 5, the 3, the intellect, and the soul 5, and then go through a deep, deep inner process of meditation, contemplation, in order to make the right choice. The sun and the moon are going to be quite in an interesting aspect, because the sun is going to be at 26, the sun and the moon, they're opposite to each other when we have a full moon. They're going to be at 27 degrees 26 minutes. Before I go and look at the degree of these two celestial bodies, I'm going to look at one important aspect related to the configuration, the celestial heavenly configuration that these two bodies are going to take to have in relation also to other planets. The Sun is conjunct Mars, which is the goddess of war, but also the planet. We consider Mars the goddess of the god of war, but is the deep meaning of this planet is the planet of inspiration, is the planet of related to the birth canal. So Mars, which is very, very close to the Sun and is going soon to be combust, which means the Mars and the Sun are going to be aligned at the same degree very soon. So it means the intensity of that planet, the energy of that planet is going to be very intense, is going to push, really push to give birth to something. And this is really in alignment with the energy of the day of the lunation, because the day of the lunation is going to be 20, and 20 in esoteric astrology is called gestation, is giving birth. And then we know many of you are mothers, and then you know that when we give birth to a baby, it's a very violent and intense energy. And then 20 is also associated to a Hebrew letters, which is the letter Kaf, which means palm of a hand. And the palm of a hand, with the palm of a hand, we can be either severe or we can bless. If we put the right side on the top of the right hand on the top of the left side of the left hand, we're going to bless. The other way around is we're going to be severe, judge. What we are asked, we are really deeply invited to look at how we choose, because 10, number 10, which is the energy of the month, and in esoteric astrology is called, the month is called the metronome, is the rehearsal, is the test we have to go through. So 10 is about leaving behind any outer dependency. We really need to choose from the heart. And then 20 is a 2, so is a weighing up, but be able to weigh up without being dependent on the outer. And 20 and 10 is a 30, which is uplifting oneself, rising consciousness, and 3 is also 30 is also 3, which is the number of the heart. So choose your heart, the heart chakra. Don't choose your intellect. We are really invited to follow 35, is also the number of our inner guidance, and go through a deep inner revision of attitude, which is also the energy of Chiron, which is really opposite Mercury at the time of this lunation, choosing not what is really right from the rational aspect, because Mercury is our intellectual attitude, okay, but which is supported in a trine with Saturn in Aquarius, which is asking us to rise to a new level of consciousness. What I mean is really that what's happening within, whatever we are going to experience as a deep conflict with the outer, is going to put us in front of something completely new to us, which is having the courage, revise, go through a deep revision of attitude and choose a new direction. Because I was saying that Mars is really pushing us to give birth to something, because the Sun and the Moon create a T-square, which is quite a conflict aspect from the astrology point of view, with Pluto, which is really asking us to go deep within. Pluto is the god of the underworld, deep within our unconscious mind, unconscious, subconscious mind, and take a stance. Whatever we're going to choose is going to cast a shadow. If we choose our intellect, that's the effect that's going to happen. And then if we choose our heart, we are going to have the effect of choosing our heart. Interesting enough, the fact that number 3, which is the addition of 21, 3, and then again 35, another 3, is the number in the Hebrew letter associated to the letter Gimel, which is punishment of reward. Libra is a sign, a set of contemplation, but there are two sayings that are associated to Libra. One is really separating the sheep from the goats, and then the other one is the die is cast. Libra is really the place of judgment. A decision must be made, because we have two pair of opposite, and we really need to walk through those and then really make the right balance. Go to an inner, find the right balance within ourselves about these two opposite sides. The separation of the sheep and the goats, or the judgment of the nation, is a passage coming from the Gospels, from Matthew. And then when Jesus mentioned the separation of the sheep and the goats, refers to the fact that he's coming back after his resurrection, and is separating the sheep from the goats. The sheep are those who follow their inner light, those who follow their heart, and the goats are those who follow their interpersonal interest and without caring about others. What are we choosing? What do we choose? Are we following our light, or are we following our inner interest? We really need to go deep within, because the other aspect with this lunation, I did talk about the Sun, Mars, and this T-square with Pluto, but here we have the Moon. And next to the Moon we have Aries, and next to it we have the goddess of discord, and next to it we have Hecate, and then next to it we have Chiron. So, which means that Aries is the goddess of discord is the, in quote, the sister of Mars, is the goddess of war, because the intent of this goddess is to make us not leave anyone behind. And bear in mind that in relation to ourselves, we are leaving behind our heart. So we are really invited to go through a deep process of revision of attitude. That revision of attitude is really going to have an effect on our life. So, big confrontation, big energy, but take the time to go within and don't choose what is right with your mind, with your intellect. Choose what is right with your heart. 27, 26, the degrees of the sun and the moon, one in Libra, one in Aries, are really related to 26, the birth of wisdom. 2 is the emotional body, so where we have a conflict is also within our emotional body, you know, and between fear and love. And bear in mind that where fear exists, love does not exist. And then the energy of 7, something really abrupt coming into our life, asking us to, 7 is either trust or fear, being scared, between these two opposites. And 27 is really called in esoteric numerology, the light fuses with matter. If we choose the light, our matter, which means our being, will be enlightened. And the 26 behind 27 is get off the cliff. Have the courage to jump into something completely new, which is really about following our heart, the endurance to follow our heart, to follow what we really feel called to do. There is intense energy because also here we have a yod, nearly a boomerang. So something is really triggering Uranus, which is what we desire, our interest, shifting consciousness, because Uranus really is triggering a change of attitude. And then Venus, which is the ruler of Libra, is inviting us to change our perspective, to play well your chess game. So it's a big, big transformation because the universe is pushing us in the direction of rising in consciousness, bringing a new level, and then we will have to speak that energy out. And whatever we speak, bear in mind from which place you speak, because if you speak from your heart, that is going to be an energy. If you speak from your mind, it's going to have a completely different effect. We are at the point where 21, the energy 20 and 10 is a 21. What we see in the outer world is a reflection of what we have inside. So if we want to change what we see in the outer world, we need to change what we choose inside. 21 is a number of initiation. Personally and collectively, we are going really deeply through a big, big transformational process. So I really invite you to before taking any choice, making any choice, to take a time to contemplate deeply within your heart who you are, because what you choose is going to manifest what you believe. Hoping you have a wonderful time, a wonderful, intense full moon. Just one thing, because before I leave, those of you who might be interested, I'm going to start teaching an online course, Introduction to the Labyrinth, teaching you how to use the finger labyrinth in order to really deeply connect with a deeper aspect within the self. It's going to be a very short seminar, 4 hours and a half in total. And for any information, please go on our website and find Introduction to the Labyrinth, which is going to start, I think, in November. So we'll be happy to have you there to show you how wonderful, a very ancient tool, more than 4,000 years old, can support us today in really making the right choices, the choices that are in accordance with our own soul. God bless. Bye bye.